So in today's video, we're going to be looking at 10 under 23 players that you can pick up at limited for around £3 or less for the upcoming new European season. So leave a like if you do enjoy the video, lads. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. And if you're completely new to Sorare, there will be a link in the description of this video that will get you free market credits once you've purchased your first 5 cards from the auctions on Sorare. So today we're going to be using Sorare data, and I will be collating all these players into a watch list, which you guys can check out in the description. So within the 10 players we're talking about, I think we've got 2 forwards, 5 midfielders, and 3 defenders. So hopefully there's something in there for you guys if you're looking for a specific position. But first up, we're going to start with Hansen, who plays for NEC in the Eredivisie. He is currently at limited. I think you can pick up his card for £1.86 right now. He's 22 years old. He is a forward card, and he's somebody that, for a long time, towards the end of the season, he was very much in and out of that NEC side. Quite a few fitness issues, doesn't really like to play 90 minutes a lot of the time. He is sort of, now getting used to first team football. He was at Ajax as a kid, moved to NEC on a free, and kid's got like a lot of talent, like a really tricky winger, loves to take on players, and as you can see, does get decisive actions, can score. When he does go off, he goes off. They're dark green scores when he seems to, really pop when he gets those decisives. 30 AA here. There was a period here where he didn't really get too much, decisive actions. But, instead of that, he's still getting 19 AAs, 15 AAs when he does play. But like I said, he doesn't like to play 90 minutes a lot of the time. I do foresee him hopefully being able to, to do 90 minutes next season a lot more. He was really, really effective. Now, you're not going to be able to play him every week and expect incredible scores, I don't think. Do I think he improves from last season? I'd like to think so. For £1.80 odd, it doesn't seem like a terrible move. NEC don't have the best of starts. Zwol at home's fine. Fortuna away. AZ and 20, first 2 games of the season isn't great, and then PSV isn't great either. But after that, Hercules, NAC, Herenveen, Almere, they've got a decent, Groningen at home. They've got a decent run first 10 or so games. But for £1.86, I think he's not a bad choice if you are looking for maybe a backup forward or even just some depth. Next up is Nicolas Castro, who plays for Elche in La Liga Smartbank in the 2nd division in Spain. He came from Argentina last season, and to be fair, he's lit it up. Some incredible scores. I think he's under 23 until 2025, so you got 1 more year out of him. And his current price right now is £2.09, which, he is a midfielder card, so there is a lot of midfielders, just in general on this game. Specifically, it's under 23. But he is somebody that not only can get really good AA scores, but he can get decisives as well, as shown here. But some really big AA scores. 39 AA, 20, 27, 24, 19, 27. Really, really, nice scores here once he finally got involved and started playing, week in, week out. Little red card here, which saw him out of the side for a few games. But yeah, start of the season, he wasn't really completing that many 90 minutes. A couple here, but the rest 50s. Maybe when Elche weren't doing as good. But towards the end of the season, they kind of got their act together a little bit, specifically around this sort of area here, and subsequently his scores, really benefited from that. And I don't foresee him moving, to be honest. He's had a good season, but I don't know if he's done enough yet to really, go to the sort of next stage in his career. And I think for £2 could be an interesting mid option. Next up is Leighton Clarkson, 22 years old, under 23 until 2026. You can pick up his limited card for £1.16, his rare card for about £15. Plays for Aberdeen in the Scottish League. He's been there for a few seasons now, and I really thought Leighton was going to be exceptional last season, but he wasn't. For a magnitude of different reasons. The year before that, though, he was ridiculous. This sort of purple patch here towards the end of that Scottish season, which was not last year, the year before. I really thought going into this last season he would have absolutely smashed, but he just didn't. So this was the season before last. Those scores are absolutely insane. And then new season started. Aberdeen weren't very good, as you can see. They were losing games of football. They were also playing in Europe as well, which really affected them. There was a few glimpses. He still scored, really well against Rangers, which is something you probably didn't expect him to do. Did get a little bit better. You could see glimpses of some really nice AA games, but not enough decisives. But a lot of the time, he wasn't taking set pieces, corners, free kicks, etc. Connor Barron, who has now moved to Rangers, was taken the majority of them. So yeah, his Clarkson's score definitely suffered because of that. And then towards the end of the season, he got a little bit better. So this is the last sort of 10 games, and he was marginally better. A couple of decisives in there, was playing 90 minutes a lot of the time, and Aberdeen sacked their manager, got a new manager at that point, and he was a big part of that end of the season. And then going into this season, it looks like now the Conor Barron has left. I'd like to think that Clarkson has a good chance of being the main sort of number 10 there next season, and maybe getting back the form he had in the previous season. So I think he's an interesting one at £1.16. He's definitely worth the risk, I think. Next up is Julian Bass, who has moved from relegated Excelsior to Sparta Rotterdam in the same league, of course. Sparta Rotterdam, definitely a better team than Excelsior. He is dubbed to, probably take over one of the midfielder positions next year. And these were his scores in a relegated Excelsior side. He did take the odd penalty as well. I think I do remember that game against Ajax. He took that penalty. Whether he gets penalties at Sparta, I don't know. He did also take a lot of the corners and stuff at Excelsior. Again, that is an unknown at Sparta, whether or not he's going to take them there. But a really nice AA floor, 20 AA a lot of the time, 47 here, which is bonkers. But like I said, he was playing in a really bad team, so there is just going to be less decisives to go around. You'd like to imagine in a better team like Sparta, if he is starting week in, week out, you'd like to think these scores improve. He knows the league already. And what can you pick up his limited for? £1.63 right now. And you can get a rare for £16.72. I think he's a really interesting one. If he plays, I can't see how his scores are worse than they were at Excelsior, and they were good enough there, considering they were a poor team. So another one to keep an eye on. Next up is Aral Sima, who plays for Midtjylland in the Danish Superliga, under 23 until 2026. He is a forward card this time round, so he's the second forward in the video. He is currently £1.86 at limited, and he is £24 right now at rare level if we're talking, floor prices. The Danish Superliga comes back literally in a week or so. It's one of the first European leagues to come back. And you know what? He wasn't that good last year. Again, similar to Leighton Clarkson, he went through a really nice sort of purple patch the year before that for Midtjylland, which we can see through these scores here. So like this little period here was the season before last. He showed glimpses in the last game of the season. A little 80 off the bench after 45 minutes isn't bad, but you can see didn't nail down the starting position. I think what let him down was Midtjylland were playing like a 4-4-2, and he's a winger and he doesn't really like to track back a lot. So and they have a left back that really likes overlapping. So him playing him and that left back, the dynamic didn't really work. They had more of a defensive winger there to complement the left back Paulinho. So whether that changes in the new season, who knows? There's definitely merit to say that Simsia is definitely going to have more chances this season, because there's been rumours that Paulinho might leave, which is the left back. When he plays, the guy's got 20 AA in him, which is massive for a forward. He does take set pieces from one side, I believe. Really tricky winger, loves to create things. And has a wicked shot on him as well. Scores quite a few free kicks, unlike Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't know why I'm throwing shade at Ronaldo, but regardless, I'm doing it. But like somebody for the price he's at can score really, really well from an AA perspective as a forward, which is rare. It's just getting the minutes. Like it's just him starting games of football is what we really need here. And this was that sort of nice patch the season before last. Like once he's in the team, it showed that he can really produce. It does seem like he can play a magnitude of different positions as well. We've got cam, we've got left wing, we've got striker. He can also play as a substitute as well, which was what he was doing for the majority of last season. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully he is, more involved in the side this time round. I think one of the reasons he wasn't playing was a guy called David Azario, who looks to be moving on from Midtjylland. It looks like he hasn't moved yet, but he was playing left wing over Simsia. So if he moves, I think that left wing position could be Simsi is to lose basically if that's the case, and if they don't buy anyone else. So keep an eye on him, £1.86 for his limited card. Next up is Nikola Jankovic, who plays for Rijeka in the Croatian league. His rare price is currently 21 quid and his limited price is £2.32. Somebody that was injured for a little period last year, which really derailed him. Last game of the season wasn't bad though, with a little hat trick, 92.7 from him. But he did go through a little patch here where he wasn't in the squad because he was injured, and then he kind of came back and wasn't really starting every game. And Rijeka were flying at that time, so he didn't really work his way back in as quickly as you'd probably like if you held his card. But before that, there was decisives for fun. Rijeka were smashing last season, like they had a really good year. They almost won the league. I don't know whether they're going to be as good this year because they've lost Labrovic, which is their goalkeeper. I'm sure they'll lose another few pieces as well. But like, look at this sort of start from him. 36 AA, 34 AA, decisives left, right and centre. And for that type of price, 100 on his first game of the season, it was against Rudez mine. So I will, have to point that out, who are, the worst team in that league by a country mile. But yeah, keep an eye on Nikola Jankovic. Very, very good player. Probably doesn't move this season. There's a few other Riker boys who are probably in line for a move. Maybe Tony Fruk, who was really, really good last year. So I think Jankovic stays, and I would fancy him to score pretty well next season. Next up is Matthias Tavernier, who plays for Tirol in the Austrian league. He's 23, so he's under 23 until 2025. You can currently pick up his rare card for £32, and his limited is about £3.50. So he's probably the most expensive card, or player, in this watch list. But, there's good reason. Like, the guy has a really nice score in him a lot of the time. Seems to be churning out a lot of AA in a struggling team. Like, he's not reliant on decisives, but if he does get the decisive, you're talking like serious scores, because his AA floor is like 20 to 30 AA most games. Last season, I'm not entirely sure if he's in line for a move. I don't think he is. I've not heard anything. 40 AA, 40 AA, 40 again. Like, some incredible AA games from him in a struggling side, like we said. So yeah, I think he's an interesting one. Of course, he is a bit more expensive than the other picks I've mentioned, but if his situation doesn't change, i.e. like he doesn't leave, I think he could be a really interesting one for next season. Next up is Emre Topu, who plays for Rittersport in the Turkish league. He's the first defender we've mentioned so far in the watch list, under 23 until 2025. There's currently no rare cards listed, but the last sale was 25 quid. Limited, he's going for £2.55 right now, so a little bit more expensive than the majority of these players that we've mentioned. But again, like, this is the first graph I've seen where there's like 200s. Like, there's two separate occasions here where this guy has scored absolutely massive. Never mind the 94s, the 85s, the 82s, 79s. Was injured towards the end of the season, I believe. Rittersport, subsequently weren't winning games of football at that point as well. So maybe him not being in the squad, was the catalyst for that. But as you can see, some massive scores, man. 58 AA, 49 AA, 49 AA, 30, 43. Some incredible scores if they do get the clean sheet, which, to be fair, they did manage to get a few clean sheets last year at Sport. Not the best side in the world. 70 AA, by the way. Absolutely huge. So if you are on the lookout for a defender who's under 23, keep your eye on him, because I don't think he's moving. And yeah, he could be a really interesting one for next season. Next up is Sophan Elari, who plays for Utrecht in the Eredivisie, 23 years old, under 23 for another season. The floor on his rare card is currently 20 quid, or just under 20 quid. And his limited card is £1.39, so definitely on the cheaper side of things here. And from what I hear, the manager absolutely loves him. He's a left back. He used to play for NEC, moved to Utrecht, obviously in the same league. And yeah, like, his scores aren't insane. There is a few peaks in here, which is nice to see. Hopefully more of them next season. But his AA floor is respectable. Like, you're looking at like 20 AA sometimes, or a lot of the time, even when there's no clean sheets. Of course, there's going to be days where he doesn't score that. And, that's just part and parcel of buying cards at this level. His scores are always going to depend on, the level of difficulty of fixture, of course. But, if he gets a decisive, which he was able to do, you're looking at some really nice scores. Fullbacks in general, their scores are a little bit up and down in that, like, they can either be really bad or really good. But he does have that decisive capability from left back. He does like to deliver a ball. And if he doesn't get the decisive, then, you can still hope for like a 30 AA off him, which is, very respectable in some games where they get clean sheets. So, yeah, Utrecht aren't the best of teams in the Eredivisie. They're definitely not the worst. I'm sure they'll have a half-decent season next year. Decent start to the season, by the way. First 4 games, sorry. So yeah, if you're in the market for a defender, U23 next season could be a decent shout. And then our last player is Florian Klein Hansel. Our last defender and our last player of the video, under 23 until 2025. Now, he was playing for Osnabrück, who were relegated last season. They're now in the 3rd Bundesliga. But he did manage to get a move to Kaiserslautern, who were a bit better than Osnabrück. They didn't get relegated. And yeah, he was the standout player by a country mile for Osnabrück. As you can see by these scores, there's multiple, 90s or above there, which is really rare. For a player that there's no cards on sale right now. The last one sold for £17 at rare level. The limited is currently £2.79. Again, another fullback, so his scores can be sometimes incredibly good, sometimes not so good, depending on how many goals they concede or if they get a clean sheet. But look at this, lads, like 46 AA, ridiculous. And this is in like this is in a relegated team, by the way. You know, they're going to concede tons of goals, as they, you know, as you can see, they kind of did. 42 AA, to be fair, they did get a clean sheet that game. 33 AA, no clean sheet. 28 AA, no clean sheet. 38 AA, I think that's a clearance off the line, no clean sheet again. So, you know, in a better team, I can't imagine these scores get worse. If we're being completely honest, there's going to be more final third balls. He's a very attacking left back. So you can imagine you're going to add a couple of more decisives to this graph, which can, and maybe more clean sheets, which can only be a good thing, I think, for Klein Hansel. So yeah, I think he's the one that has the most upside, I would say, you know, between the defenders that we've mentioned. Topu is, you know, really good as well from a centre back perspective. Maybe his scores would be a bit more consistent than a Klein Hansel, but who knows? Like it's hard to say. Obviously, we'll see how he fits into this new system and new team. But I am really excited to see how Klein Hansel gets on next season. So I hope that video was of value to you guys. If it was, please do leave it a like and comment below if you've picked up any of these cards, or if you have any other suggestions, you know, as far as under 23, you know, cheaper players go for next season. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great game week, and I shall see you guys in the next video.